tends to maximize engagement. She's an expert at that. And it's funny to be in a real situation where people say, oh, I just said this or said that. Someone like Nick Fuentes, who's a complete clown in my mind, but is simply able to gain popularity and engagement by being as provocative, as controversial, as hateful as possible. And the problem with that is it's not just speech. In this country, people always say, oh, that's just free speech. It's just speech. I mean, in this case, she deserved to be fired. It's also an issue that such hate speech has real effects. This has real effects. And this is something that we've seen occur with these sort of right-wing online pundits. They think that they can just get away with hiding behind free speech, but what they're doing is manipulating social media ecologies, manipulating algorithms, and then their own grifting off of those ecosystems actually generates violence and hate for people who are most marginalized. And that's the part that's really despicable and sad about this situation. And we truly need a more competitive market and non-market actors when it comes to media in this country. We really, really need that.
And I don't think it was an accident when she said if Hitler had just wanted to make Germany great. I mean, literally used the word of make America great again that Trump uses, and just indicating again her exact belief system, I think, where she is making clear, oh, it's totally fine to oppress minority groups. It's totally fine to have incredibly repressive, discriminatory policies, as long as you also have your country first. That's just to also go and meddle. It's like, that's the important policy point, not a lack of hate, but just be isolationist as well.
Yeah, so look, I think that Rabbi Shmuley is like the worst representative of the Israeli side, and Piers Morgan and others don't do the Israeli side any favors by having him on. And I feel the same exact way about Candace Owens on the Palestinian side. No, thank you. We don't want her. I'm not interested in it. And all she does is damage the cause. Please go away. And so she doesn't speak for any of us. I'm not interested in her opinions on Israel because she's outside the bounds of civil discussion. And if you say, oh, I don't want civil discussion, guys, you've seen me yell, you've seen me be uncivil in ways that are, you could even characterize as rabble rousing, whatever you want to say. I'm not the civility police, but is there a line? Yes, there's gotta be a line. There's gotta be a line. What if she goes out and starts saying, you know what? Full mask off. I mean, if drinking the blood of children wasn't mask off enough, right? And a secretive ring of Jews who are sinister and runs things wasn't over the line enough. First of all, then you have no line. Seriously, if you don't think that's too much, I hate to break it to you, but you're probably anti-Semitic. Like that's if you can't see that that's too much. That's unfathomable to me. But okay, let's say you think, no, it's no big deal drinking the blood. Oh yeah. What if she comes out and starts doing Rwanda radio? Go and find the Jews and kill them.
Yeah.
Is that free speech? No, there's a line. Look, guys, you see on Young Turks, we often, in fact, this exact panel has massively disagreed and yelled at each other and etc. And we disagree all the time on air, and whether it's about Israel or many other issues. And we talk about how sometimes Trump is right about this or Republicans are right. We're as open-minded a network as you could possibly find, right? But there's gotta be a line. So I've defended Ann Coulter, Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, who's also another monster and horrible guy. But when they were going to speak at colleges, I say, let him speak. And then we have much better ideas. Then we speak and we win. That's how it works. But there's definitely a place where you go, no, I'm not going to let you rile people up towards horrible things in the world. And that's exactly where she was going with this.
Cenk, as one of the Jews who controls the media, you said that exactly as I scripted it for you. Great job.
Oh, thank you, no problem. But to Ben's point, and the joke that he made earlier, like this, guys, I've lived this. So please, if you're one of those folks who can't understand the difference between Israel and Jews and what's right and wrong about humanity, like, first of all, we're all human beings. Please stop. It's so stupid and irrational to think that there's any difference between Muslims, Jews, Christians, or anyone else. We have the same DNA. Yep. It's so irrational, right? But think about how absurd it is. So I started this company with Dave Kohler and Ben Mankiewicz. Dave and I have been friends for over 40 years. And I remember when we started, we were at a Tony Roma's, about 22 years ago, okay? In the middle of eating ribs, I joked around with Dave. I'm like, okay, and with both of them. And Ben's like family's theoretically way more connected, and he had nothing, okay? But I was kidding around with Dave because I know his two parents are both physics professors. He don't have any goddamn connections in Hollywood or in DC or anywhere else. So I was kidding with him. I'm like, Dave, go, make us rich. That's not how it works. That's insanity. You think that every Jewish person, rich, poor, or middle class, is all connected and the cabal comes to them and goes, okay, here's your secret past now. Then why are they still poor? Yeah. Then when we both started this and we wanted to work so badly, right? He had no connections. There was no secret money. There was no secret connection. Even Ben, who has a legendary last name, right? No connections at the time, none. Couldn't do anything. Why? Because in the real world, it doesn't work that way. It's not even close to true. It's not just that it's offensive. It's just not true. It's wrong and irrational. It makes no sense. Please don't go in a direction that embarrasses you and puts other people in danger.
As I said, if Jews controlled Hollywood, my career would be a lot further along.
Yeah, I mean it's also dehumanizing and it's violent, right? And I think that those are really, and of course, I appreciate that you mentioned that you had the Rwandan radio example. There was a dehumanizing practice that was using media, the media of that time, radio, to basically treat the Tutsis as subhuman. They were called cockroaches, right? In Rwandan radio. I've literally written about that, so that was so cool. But it's like to see that now in relation to social media and media, which is just fragmented. I mean, and it's sort of why when you're louder and more heinous and more divisive, you just get more traction. I mean, why I don't think Rabbi Shmuley is. I don't really like him either, but there's a reason why he's repeatedly on Piers Morgan. I mean, I think we need to point the finger where it needs to be, and so it's just this situation where people are grifting, and we've seen Tucker Carlson and now Don Lemon and others sort of leave the supposedly mainstream media. Of course, Daily Wire is sort of a fragment of that, and create their own careers accordingly. But imagine if we're living in a world where we're just human beings. So many people are suffering. So many Jewish and Palestinian brothers and sisters are suffering right now. And the worst thing we do is make it even worse. We take a critique of the IDF and turn it into this horrific, classic, hateful discrimination against Jewish people. We've got to do better, We've got to do better, and we've got to change our media somehow to get us there, so we can actually have civil dialogue.
Yep.
Or if not civil, at least dialogue.
we do dialogue on TYT, so no question about that.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below, because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media.
Sharks, let's get right to it. Crayola Essence has the liquid gold of the Caribbean, the most nourishing.
All right, peace and greetings, YouTubers. Candace Owens. Nope. Nope. No, nope. Not at all. Nope. 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 Here's my thing. Now, see, she spent her life fighting to stay down in the trenches of anti-blackness because it meant that she could have a personal come up and an individual come up at the expense of Black people collectively. And she has broken her neck to do all that nonsense for a check. And now that the money is funny, you see how people start moving. And this is why I say all the time, be wary of who it is that you run behind. One of the things that I started to notice in the last few months is that I started to see this narrative of people saying, oh, well, you know what? Stuff she's saying don't sound too bad. She seems like she's all right at the moment, and so on and so forth, because she started to have somewhat of a more nuanced approach with some of the things that she was saying, right? She started to come off a little bit softer. She still had a bunch of terrible things to say, but every now and then there will be a nugget in there that didn't sound as crazy, right? And one of the issues is, in this era of social media and instant gratification, people tend to become forgetful about what they were pissed off about just a few months ago, right? And so we're now in a space where there's something that can piss people off at 9 a.m. and by 10:45, people have moved on to something else. And so when it comes to Candace Owens, now I'm seeing this whole space where folks were trying to act like, oh, you know, she really just wants what's best for us as a people and so on and so forth. And now they're trying to make her out to be Asada Shakur and, you know, Betty Shabazz, and, you know, she's Medgar Evers' wife. You know, she's just like Fred Hampton. She one of us. Now all of a sudden she Malcolm X. I said, if y'all don't be for real, if y'all don't go and be for real, I said, ain't no way just because you done seen a few tidbits where she doesn't sound as cuckoo, all of a sudden y'all want to act like she's about the people. Please. So anyway, something in my spirit told me something's going on. Something is off. And see, because I don't really pay attention to her like that, I didn't realize that her and Ben Shapiro had been beefing for a few months, pretty much since everything started with the atrocities in Gaza. And so, you know, I had no idea that they had, you know, their shenanigans going, because she's not somebody I really pay that much attention to. And I'm like, something is going on, because, you know, now she's appearing on these different shows that a lot of times she normally wouldn't necessarily go on and have such a nuanced approach, even with her interviews. So I'm like, okay, she's been on the Breakfast Club. She's been on the Joe Budden podcast. I don't consider those outlets Black media, but I am aware that these are outlets that market to Black audiences. And so, you know, and even that, they gave her some slap on the wrist interviews. I'm like, see, y'all let these people come on here and they can disrespect us all day. And then when they come on y'all shows, y'all don't call them out on anything, but whatever. And so I'm just sitting here like, something is off. I was like, I feel like she's low-key rebranding, right? It feels like it. Like she's not jumping all the way in, but she's inching closer, right? And so then I find out that she has been fired from the Daily Wire, right? Ben Shapiro and her, that beef they've been having, you know, he was like, you're done. You're out of here, done. And so I find out today, oh, she's been fired from Daily Wire. And then I was reading the post, because I said, well, let me see what the scoop is with this, right? And so she makes this post. The rumors are true. I am finally free. If you would like to support my work, you can head to CandaceOwens.com, where you will be directed to my locals page, or you can give a gift at GoCandace.com. There will be many announcements in the weeks to come. And then she put the American flag and a cross, because, you know, she's a Christian. You know, she loves the Lord. And then the next part, because I was like, wait a minute, you know, give a gift. This something don't sound right here. And then the next page, you know, join Team Candace. And it has a part where you know, you can donate. And you can donate, what, $5, $10, $15, $25, $50, $100, $250? Yeah, so in the world of safe spaces, Candace Owens is creating one where thoughts can flow freely from politics and culture to good and the bad. Follow her straight into the center of it all. Support her. And donations. I said, donations? Donations? Not miss, you know, get rid of welfare, and folks need to stop asking for handouts and entitlement program and pull yourself up by the bootstrap and people don't work harder. Donations? Donations? What? Really? Wow. Okay. Like Oprah. Wow. Donations, huh? Okay. Like, and my thing is, like, you just got fired. You already asking for donations? This is a new firing. Like, your name and stuff is still in the system. You still got a paycheck coming. You know, they got to still pay you for whatever you work for, and you already at the donations phase? Interesting. Okay, so, and so it goes to the point where you start to see things work in that cycle, right? Every now and then, there's always a prominent Black figure who decides to latch onto all of the anti-Black talking points they can latch onto, because they know that there is money to be made when they can get behind some foolery and some nonsense. She is definitely one of those people. But when the tides turn, when doors are closed, when opportunities get cut off, when the source of the money gets challenged and compromised, what do folks always do? And I said this literally on the last live. They always start trying to rebrand to come on back home to Black America and come to the Black folks. So next step is, hey, y'all, you know, I finally watched BAPS. I saw Friday and Boys in the Hood. I understand now. Wakanda forever, Black power. And I'm like, nah. It ain't that easy. You don't get to just jump back up in here and think you're going to be in charge of nothing. You know, if you get the luxury to even be brought back into the collective, you on punishment for like 10 years. Okay, you on probation. You don't get to be in charge of nothing. Your opinion does not even get to be heard. You just get to sit in silence and be happy you in the room. Because we've seen this pattern happen so many times. It makes me think back to Paris Denard, who did all that cooning and running around and embarrassing himself. And then as soon as the allegations came out against him, look how they dumped him. Quick, got him up out of there, right? Done. Omarosa told all of us we was going to bow down to Trump. We're going to be at his mercy and everything else like that. And as soon as he fired her and her father didn't work no more and she couldn't go to the Christmas party and get in the eggnog and the champagne and sit on Santa's lap and all that other stuff, now she got a book and now she's doing a press run. And, you know, well, I'm just trying to take care of my people. my people. I'm like, y'all be on it. Where was the people when you was getting behind that nonsense? And you knew that these folks are all about anti-blackness and don't give two F words about black people collectively with anything, but you saw a personal come up, right? And sat there and played in our faces. You know what I mean? And it's the same. You just see that cycle. Even Don Lemon, right? He was on some nonsense for years, right? Then he went on across the water, went to Ghana, got his black people wake-up call, came back, started shaking the table, and now he's no longer at CNN. And then when he thought he had a new opportunity with Elon Musk, which should have been strike 1,500 for him, he should have realized Elon is not somebody to run behind. Look how quick Elon got him up out of there, right? So you constantly see how things move, how things work. Like, Van Jones, you next. But anyway, so I just found it funny. I said, not donations, not donations, miss donations. Really? Wow. So much has changed. And so here's the thing. It's not even about Candace Owens being a black conservative, because black conservatives exist, right? People are going to have their viewpoints on how they see the world, how they think the world should operate. But my beef with Candace has always been that Candace decided to make her brand about being just the most vile and nasty person she could be, because there was one core audience that she wanted to capture. Because in that conversation of conservative demographics, there's different pockets in that group, right? But the main pocket she went after was that whole Ben Shapiro demographic, right? The whole red pill, alpha male, conservative white men. We have no emotions. We have no feelings. We have no hearts. We don't even drink water because that's too weak and too woke. We just get nurtured and get our nourishment from the sweat out after working out in the gym, because we used to be the hunters in society and we're prepared for civil war. And what happened in Charlottesville wasn't that bad. And there's a great replacement theory and all this other BS. That's the audience she decided to run behind and capture, because there was money there. She knew that she could be a mouthpiece for anti-blackness and white supremacy, and it would pay her very, very well. And so since 2017, because she magically became a conservative overnight after something else happened that made her pissed off, and she just jumped and did a full 180 and latched right into the nonsense. And so for years, we have watched her gaslight and go on these platforms and spew all these horrible talking points and things where it's like, how can you even sleep at night after saying some of the stuff that you said? And just, here's the thing too, because that core audience is who she was trying to build a foundation with, right? She knew that she couldn't just approach her conservatism in the same way that others have, because there have been other black conservative prominent figures, especially as far as black women as well, but none of them have been able to get the acclaim and the reach that Candace has. And it's because, like I said, Candace knew that she needed to build her brand in the space of, how terrible can I be? How can I make it so things to be normal? So yeah, I'm going to attack all these different people, and then I'm going to throw a little tidbit in there that sounds logical and nuanced, so that way you realize that I'm still human. So she knew by building a brand of just being straight up terrible, right, that she could win over that Ben Shapiro demographic. Now here's where the gotcha is, right? Now she is being reminded that no matter how much you shuck and jive and tap dance and play into the nonsense of the white man's ego, they will remind you of exactly who you are when it's time, because the minute you piss off the wrong people at the right time, they get you up out of there. And so she recognizes that for the longest, her core audience, her core base, again, has been like the Ben Shapiro disciple crew, but they're not about to ride with her into her next endeavor, because they're staying with Ben. Right? This is where the male chauvinism comes in. This is where the anti-blackness comes in. This is a black woman trying to latch into a conservative movement that benefits white men. Right? And now that one of the head white men in charge of that whole demographic has pretty much said, nope, she's done. We're done with her. Understand that his whole following is staying with him. They're not jumping ship with her because there's no leverage with her. And that's the downside of when you choose to be a mouthpiece for white supremacy for your own personal come up. Yeah, the opportunities are going to be there. You're going to climb the ranks. They're going to platform you. They're going to put you everywhere you want to be, because you are saying the language and the narratives of what it is that they want to hear. But the minute you step out of place, the minute you start having an opinion, because again, when you're being that mouthpiece, you have to play into the program. You don't get to have thoughts. You don't get to start all of a sudden speaking for your collective and calling things out if it doesn't add up. No, that's done. Because the minute you do that, you're one of them. So they're putting her back into the one of them category. So now she has to figure out, well, who is my next audience? Because I just can't jump somewhere. So now she's testing the waters, right? Now she's in a space where, again, now you're seeing these interviews where she's softer, a little bit. She's still just as cuckoo and terrible, but some of the things are a bit softer. She's coming off a bit more nuanced. And so now she's doing this whole rebranding, redoing her image. Even the appearance has changed. She done got a hairstylist, right? And so the hair is looking a little bit different. There's a little bit of juices and berries in there now. So the hair's blowing with the wind, right? Different makeup, different clothing. I'm like, oh, I see exactly how you're moving with this. And so she's testing the waters with black folks first. Let me see how they're going to respond to some of these things that I'm saying, because I can always come home to my people. And I'm just like, nope, this is the nonsense I'm talking about. And that's why I always say the question becomes, when you kind of see people who have jumped into a bunch of nonsense and all of a sudden start trying to pander to black folks, my question becomes, well, let me see what it is you're rooted in. Where's your roots? What's your foundation in? And when you look at her track record for the last almost decade, it is not rooted in anything about the progression of black people collectively. It has all been about her and herself and her paycheck. And I am not falling for it. So before we go any further, I would like to just dive down the trail of the Candace Owens isms. Okay, we're going to get on the train. We're just going to ride to Candaceville, because I need people to realize that while she's doing this rebrand, stop her ahead of her tracks, because I need people to realize all of the detriment that she has thrown into these conversations, because she has been in the way of progress and then gaslit us and made it seem like all of us were just crazy. We were crazy for feeling some kind of way about a lot of the things that were happening in this country, especially towards black people. We were being gaslit and told we're emotional. There's something wrong with being emotional because you see people who look like you literally get murdered on camera, right? Let's jump into it. All right, now I'm not about to sit here and go through everything that she said, because again, this has been her brand. This is the kind of stuff she was spewing out weekly on her platform. So we would be here all day if we went down the list of all the crazy things she said. But I'm just going to go through a few, because I want you guys to take note of a certain pattern that you'll notice, right? And so the first thing I'll bring out is, again, her response to a lot of people being outraged about the police brutality that has been taking place in the United States. And as far as the people who've been protesting and calling for change and action and trying to organize, she said that entire demographic, especially the black folks who were complaining about it, were a bunch of whiny toddlers. Understand the language being used is the language that, again, appeases what you call the Ben Shapiro disciples, who think there is nothing wrong with how things operate. And because, again, challenging the status quo means that they would have to be uncomfortable. So in her role is to make sure that they stay comfortable. And by her being that token Negro that can say all the talking points that they want to hear, they can feel justified in their viewpoints by her endorsing them. So that's kind of how she moves. Then we get to the conversation of Juneteenth. Now, me personally, I've always said I wish they didn't make it a federal holiday, because I felt like that was something that was in-house for black people collectively. That was something we celebrated amongst ourselves. Now that it has been exploited and disrespected, it's in the same way that the Negro National Anthem, I'm not a fan of it being sung at the NFL games. Not because I don't think the song is important, but I think that song is for us. And now that it's been put on this platform, it's open for people to keep disrespecting it and disregarding it. And it's like, it's tarnished something that was for us. So I've always felt that way. But her viewpoints on Juneteenth, she said it's ghetto and it's made up, right? Now we're in a point where, again, there's not even a respect for the plight of black Americans. There's not even a respect for our experiences. And again, the idea of calling something ghetto, you know what that means, right? That's her disassociating from what she deems as black. Because again, for a lot of people from the outside looking in, they see black people as all of us are just ghetto. And hey, there is nothing wrong with being who you are. But the issue is this. She recognizes that by kind of distancing herself and saying that's ghetto, it paints her to be in a light of, I'm not like those Negroes. I'm special. I'm different, because her brand has also been, I'm just so intelligent. That's why nobody understands me. So again, she's going to break her neck to spew out all these terrible talking points and things that just make no sense, all again to appease that same demographic at the expense of everybody else, right? That's kind of been the way that she moves, right? Then again, we saw her response to the concern that a lot of people started having with regard to the rise in white nationalism, especially after what happened in Charlottesville and the dude ran over the girl and killed the girl with the car and everything. And she thought that, okay, that response is stupid, right? You guys are being stupid, overreacted. There's not a rise in white nationalism. And we've seen what's happened in this country in the last 8 years, right? And then when it came to Breonna Taylor, and for me, this was a sore point, because I remember being on this platform dragging people because folks wanted to sit here and be stupid. But for her, this is her tweet. Idiot take. Breonna Taylor, and this is, again, her speaking, but mocking folks. Idiot take. Breonna Taylor must have been shot because she was black and not because her boyfriend was a career criminal drug dealer who fired at police first while she was standing behind him. It's Ray, R-A-Y-C, ism, racism. And I'm like, see, here we go. Now, we've already seen the outcome of what happened with the Breonna Taylor situation. We ended up discovering, okay, there was a whole police cover-up. There was police misconduct. Police were charged. No, the boyfriend that was in the apartment was not a drug dealer. And no, she was not standing behind him. She was shot in her bed, right? But again, the idea of stripping away the narrative of truth and helping to paint a narrative of the idea that Black people are always criminals, and that when Black people are unjustifiably killed by the police, there's a reason behind it and it's justified. And I want us to also get out of the habit of thinking that, it's normal for police to just keep going and killing folks, because when she does that, that's what she's endorsing, the idea that, oh, well, you should have complied, you should have did whatever. And so she painted the picture of Breonna Taylor brought it on herself, right? Somebody who had her own 9-to-5, had, and mind you, understand, the boyfriend that was in that situation that, ended up shooting at police because the police did a no-knock warrant, showed up, half of them weren't in uniform, and he's thinking somebody's breaking in, and he defended himself, because any other time, she's also somebody who loves to tout and run around talking about guns save lives. Now here's somebody who's using their Second Amendment right. You want to criminalize him. Why? Because here's a Black man, and he fits the description of exactly what it is that you want to speak out against, because again, there's that demographic and that collective that you want to appease, because he puts a bigger paycheck in your pocket. So that was some nonsense in regard to that. And she never backtracked with the Breonna Taylor situation. Once it was discovered there was a police cover-up and people were charged, and then you found out it was even bigger, and it was even an entire gentrification deal, like all kind of stuff going on, all kind of corruption behind Daniel Cameron and crew. You haven't heard any kind of backtracking. Then Ahmaud Arbery, the same thing. This is the individual that we saw get shot and killed by them racist people, right? Who are all now who've been convicted, right? But before the convictions, what did she say? Ahmaud Arbery was caught on camera breaking into an unfinished property that was owned by Larry English. His mother has confirmed it's him in the video. Please stop with the just a jogger BS narrative. Avid joggers don't wear khaki shorts and stop to break into homes. And then the next stop, now we got to pivot and jump into somewhere else. Black America, when 9-year-old Tyshawn Lee is lured from a basketball court down an alleyway and shot dead by a Black gang member, crickets. Black America, when a repeat burglar is shot dead after breaking into someone's home. Racism, injustice, protest. Our culture is a joke. And first of all, you can drop this R because you're not a part of it and you chose to disassociate anyway. But notice two things, right? With Ahmaud Arbery painting the narrative of, again, violent burglar, when in reality, when you look at the footage, it's just this dude checking out some random spot that's under construction. There's nothing to steal from a construction site. What is he going to take? One of the beams? Be for real. But painting the narrative of him being a criminal. We get to the trial, people are convicted. Turns out he wasn't doing nothing but jogging. But again, she never backtracked. She still runs it and runs with those same viewpoints, because she knows that, again, it fits the narrative of how people want to see Black men in that specific image. Same thing with Black women when we talk Breonna Taylor. Then what does she do? Pivots. The same thing we see all the time when people call out the flaws within police brutality and flaws within racism in this United States. And then instead of addressing that, she wants to all of a sudden care about the Black child that was lured by gang members and killed. When it's like, if you cared about it like you really did, it wouldn't be a response into something else. That would have been the first thing you were talking about on your platform. You have all kind of coalitions going after gang violence. And then the part that gets me the most is time after time, there are so many grassroots organizations that work to combat intra-community violence, right? Violence within the community, so many different groups. If you follow my channel, for like the last handful of years, right here specifically for DC,